All right. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to today's webinar, 5 Factors to Improve Project Management Performance and Your Organization's Bottom Line. It's our Project Management Certificate webinar today. And I have with me Cyndi Snyder Dionisio. She's the president of Synergy 2. And this webinar today is sponsored by Oregon State's Professional and Continuing Ed Unit. I am Melanie Mitchell, the Director of Professional and Continuing Ed here at Oregon State. And we like to engage with the community through educational opportunities, providing both personal enrichment and professional development programs that are of quality, convenience, affordability, and flexibility. Oregon State offers content that serves as a gateway into higher ed, or also to continue your education pathway and guide your own learning. We build partnerships like the one I'm presenting today with Cyndi that provide amazing opportunities for professionals to continue their education, advance their careers, and foster personal development in all shapes and sizes. We are committed to bringing the best of Oregon State University to people of all ages and industries, and we're proud to be partnering with Cyndi to just do that. So Cyndi, I want to talk a little bit about your background. Oops. There we go. A little bit about Oregon State and Cyndi's background here. So Cyndi Snyder Dionisio is a professional in project management. She's a consultant, an instructor, an author. She has written 8 books on project management. She provides consulting and training services to government and private industry. Her consulting focuses on project management maturity, project management curriculum development, and positioning, project management, and the core competencies for organization. She has over 20 years experience, 15 years in managing projects, 15 years in teaching project management, and 10 years in teaching online. Her experience of corporate, public sector, and academic environment have included clients such as Veteran Affairs, Hewlett-Packard, Medtronic, the Central Intelligence Agency, and also Southern California Edison. She is an active volunteer with the Project Management Institute, is actually down in San Diego right now at PMI Global Congress. She is the chair of the 6th edition PMBOK, so the next PMBOK, the Bible of Project Management, that's coming out third quarter this year, is had all of her project management to do with it. She serves as the PMI Standards Member Advisory Group, and in 2009 she was also awarded the Distinguished Contributor Award for her project management on the 4th edition. Thank you, Cyndi, so much for being here today.
It is a delight. I'm so happy. I see we have just a bunch of people, 44 attendees. That's super exciting.
Yes, I'm very excited. So before we get started, I want to go over a little bit about the agenda. Cyndi's going to talk about the state of the profession. We're going to both go over the certificate program that we've built together and the curriculum. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the project management certification. Many of you may be interested in that. And then we're going to wrap up with some questions and answers. So we'll go ahead and have Cyndi start off about the state of the profession.
Okay, so project management has been kind of codified since the late 50s, early 60s. And in the late 60s, a bunch of people got together and said, hey, we should have a club. And they developed the Project Management Institute. And so projects have been struggling along ever since. Some big struggles, some not so big struggles. But in particular, IT projects struggle a lot. So there was this group, the Standish group, which does research, and they particularly were researching, what is it with these IT projects? And so they developed what was called the Chaos Report in 1994. And based on their research, and this is just of IT projects, so not necessarily construction or aerospace or anything like that, but in IT projects since 1994, they found that over half of them were either late, over budget, or only partially completed. In other words, only part of the functionality or part of the features that they wanted were completed. And in addition to that 54 that were either late or over budget, 30% failed completely. So that's showing 84% of the projects in 1994 were challenged. So they started to take a look and say, well, why is that? Should we have smaller projects? Do we need better project managers? Do we need What do we need? What's going on? And so there was a lot of stirring around to say, well, it's because we don't know our requirements, or because our requirements change, or because we don't have executive leadership. So a lot of things were tried, and they've been doing this research ever since. And lo and behold, what happened, next slide, Melanie, is that in 2015, oh my gosh, 53 were late, over budget, or only partially completed, and 31 failed completely. So you can see there was a resounding lack of progress made. So we do know some things that help do projects better. We do know some things that help drive towards success. And part of those come from the Project Management Institute. Part of those come from having a standard called the PMBOK Guide, which is the project management body of knowledge. Part of what helps is having a project management professional. In other words, somebody who's actually trained, not an accidental profession. And so project management continues to grow. It's been growing by leaps and bounds. And I think that, personally, I think that's one of the reasons that is, especially IT projects are so challenged, because IT does not hold still. Technology is not holding still. It continues to evolve. And a project is unique. By definition, the definition of a project, it's a unique undertaking. It's a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. So that the situation is we can learn to an extent about project management. We can do lessons learned on project management, but each project is an individual. So it's not like it's a repetitive process, or that it's operational where we can continually improve. So we look at our processes that we use, and we can continually update our processes. And that is a lot of what PMI does, and a lot of what being a project management professional is. So there's over 450,000 PMI members globally, and they're in 204 countries. And right now at the Global Congress in San Diego, there's probably 3,000 or so project managers milling around the San Diego Convention Center, and there's tons and tons of seminars and workshops going on where people are trying to improve their profession and learn from their peers. But
the broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Regardless of the fact that we continue to be challenged with projects and we continue to add more project managers, it is still one of the most in-demand job skills in today's marketplace. Next slide, Melanie. Okay, so I've been talking a little bit about a standard, in other words, a common set of practices that we as project managers can use to kind of work with the fact that projects are unique, but the process don't have to be. And so those processes are collected and articulated in what's called a guide to the project management body of knowledge. And we just shortened that to the PMBOK Guide, Project Management Body of Knowledge, PMBOK Guide. And the first edition came out in 1986, and it was really like a white paper on standards and ethics. And then the first actual edition came out in 1996, and currently I've been working on the 6th edition. And I turned it over to the editor. It was developed by a global team of volunteers, and it will be out and about in the 3rd quarter of 2017. So probably next July or August, it will hit the streets. It hits the streets for what we call education providers, such as Oregon State, starting in January. So as you take this curriculum, you'll be seeing that we're building the curriculum towards the 6th edition, towards the most up-to-date information that we have about how to manage projects successfully. Next slide. Okay, so how do organizations improve performance? What is it that organizations can do to help more projects succeed? Well, PMI puts out this thing called a pulse of the profession. And they do a lot of research with Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 1000 companies. They do research with project management offices, chief executives, to see what are the driving forces in project success. And one of the things that they found is that organizations that have a project management career path have better results than organizations that don't. And they also found that organizations that provide project managers training have a percentage of successful projects. And PMI's been talking about what we call this talent triangle, and really it boils down to the most effective project managers have not just project management technical skill, and not just technical skill in their area of expertise, but they also have leadership skills, and they also have business skills. In other words, as project managers, we know how to make business decisions. We know about a cost-benefit analysis. We understand how to optimize resources, not just for your project, but for a portfolio of projects that goes across an organization. Okay, next slide. Okay, so along those lines, to support organizations training and developing their project managers with the hope of having more successful projects, and to support, support project managers in getting trained, in developing their skills, or people that want to get into this really exciting profession in learning what are the skills, how do I do this? Because really, most of us in, my advanced age, I'm not that old, but, people from my generation, we bootstrapped. In other words, it's an accidental profession. We taught ourselves by trial and error, but it doesn't have to be that way. So OSU is putting together this curriculum that will provide a certificate of 8 courses. And so, Melanie, I'm going to turn this over to you to talk about the curriculum, and then I'll talk about individual courses.
Right. Whoa, my mouse is crazy. Right. So we have, wow, sorry about that. So we have 8 courses and 8 core courses, and they really cover the entire body of knowledge to qualify to take that PMP exam, to be more than just a good test taker, but to be a great project manager. They provide industry-specific project management case studies, different exercises to be able to practice being a good project manager in the classes, and then apply what you're doing the next day in your job. So the objectives of the program, and Cyndi, we can kind of bounce back and forth here, but at the end of the program, after you take the 8 total courses, you will learn and know how to effectively define and start up a project. You'll be able to understand the methods to develop a schedule, a realistic schedule, techniques and cost estimate, duration, and resources. You'll know how to identify, analyze, and respond to risks, and you'll be able to plan and deliver for effective project communications, managing those stakeholder communications and your strategic communications. Cyndi, do you want to add anything here before I go to the next slide?
No, let's go to the next slide.
And then we'll continue to go through managing performance variance, key leadership behaviors, how to facilitate teams, even virtual teams, but how to manage teams effectively, understand conflict and how to manage conflict. You'll understand how to manage your stakeholders and those communications, and you'll go through different tool sets. I think you do the stakeholder register and your stakeholder management strategy. And then you'll also be able to manage project quality and what that means and how to efficiently do it. Integrate procurements throughout your project and ensure that you have risks and impacts and assessments throughout the total project time.
Great.
Did I miss anything there?
No, you're awesome. That was great. And what I want to do is I want to build on this 3rd bullet down, and I want to emphasize the word facilitate. So I had an opportunity to be interviewed by a gentleman named Cornelius Victor, and he has a PM podcast. And he was interviewing me on the podcast, and one of the questions he asked, he said, what's the single most important interpersonal skill that you have in managing projects? And for me, it really is the art of facilitation. And so one of the, a lot of times we teach what's easy to teach, which is how to use the tools and the techniques. And there's a lot of that in the classes that we're bringing to you. But there's also an entire class built around leadership and communication and building effective teams. And just one of the tips that I can give you is that it's not the tools that perform the project, it's the team that performs the project. And regardless of how much I know or you know about what we're doing, if we can't effectively work with people, if we can't effectively engage stakeholders, including our team members, we're not going to be really effective overall in managing a project. And so I've developed a lot of practices that in managing a project where I would almost say I don't really manage a project anymore as much as I lead the project team and facilitate their success in accomplishing the project. But that's a really long title for a certificate, so we still call it project management. But I just wanted to mention that a lot of how I teach is going to be how do you work effectively with people? And so you'll see a lot of that in this slide, which is leadership, conflict management, engaging your stakeholders. So those skills are so important, and we're going to talk about them throughout the course. So I just wanted to mention that. Okay, next slide.
Great. So here's a list of the 8 courses, and the time span is on your left, the course length. Each course ranges in different lengths. We range anywhere between 3 to 7 weeks is our longest course. Each course is registered individually for professional development units. And then we have a scattered course offering that will really round you out for the entire year. So we are offering courses back-to-back in the fall, 2 in the fall term, 2 in the winter, 2 in the spring, and 2 in the summer. There's usually paced about a week or 2 in between. We had to kind of squeeze them in this fall, but so you'll get 2 in before the end of the year. And quickly, Cyndi, do you want to talk a little bit about just high level of what's kind of covered in each of the 8 courses?
Absolutely. So the first class starts, I believe it's October 24th, and that's going to be an overview of key concepts in project management. So before we start diving in, I want to make sure everybody kind of understands some of the key concepts, and then we'll talk about how our and each course in the entire curriculum will have some content for you to learn and engage with, but it'll also have a case study. So the case study is introduced in this first course, and we'll look at some of the high-level information on the case study that we would know when we originate a project. And then we dive in and we learn a little bit more about some of the important concepts in planning, and we'll start to define scope, and we'll practice on the case study of defining scope. The next class is robust. You can see it's 7 weeks, and there's just a lot of information to learn in how to develop an effective schedule, how to estimate and identify your resources, and then once you've done that, how to estimate your costs. So there's a lot of information in that, and a lot of technical information. And then the next course, we'll kind of step back from the technical aspect, and we'll talk about those leadership and interpersonal skills. We then, in the spring, will start to talk about risk and issue management. And risks have to deal with uncertainty. And given that projects are unique, in other words, we don't have a lot of there aren't a lot of repetitive projects. There are some that seem like previous projects, but a lot of projects are brand new, and so there's a lot of uncertainty. And risk management is hard. It's one of the least well-practiced disciplines in project management. So we're going to delve into risks and issues, and then we'll talk about procurement. Not every project has procurement, and procurement is a really long, fancy word for, as I joke, say, it's shopping with a contract, really. So it's a lot about contract management. And then we're also going to get into the finer points about quality management. We'll spend some time talking about working with your stakeholders, so engaging your stakeholders, which really effective stakeholder engagement is the difference between a failed project and one that you can succeed at. It's really, really important. And then we'll also talk about monitoring and controlling your project progress, and we'll have some case study information around that. And then the final course is like a capstone, and it's a capstone where you'll have learned everything you need to know. You'll be literally just you and your team will be given a new case study, and you have 3 weeks to work through it from start to finish. You'll have a list of deliverables that you're expected to turn in, and work collaboratively together to turn those in. So that's kind of the rundown on the courses. And then Melanie can talk a little bit more about how we deliver the content.
Right. So right now, 100% of those 8 courses are online. They're scheduled to be online. We offer the courses in our learning management system called Canvas, which is a highly engaging platform where you have an organized flow of each course. So when you register for one course through our registration system, that's the same place where you'll access the course. There's a access course button, and through our registration system, you directly link to Canvas. Canvas, there'll be an outline of what you're doing each week. Normally you have some voiceover lecture, we have some exercises, some discussion. A lot of our courses, we focus on 3, or all of our courses, we focus on 3 main engagements. Engagement with the instructor, engagement with your peers, your colleagues that you're learning beside, and then engagement with the content. So we're building exercises for you to engage with the content. We're building in discussion boards for you to engage with one-on-one with your peers and then also with your instructor. So there's a lot of the rich discussion happens week to week as you're paced along by Cyndi. Cyndi also offers some synchronous components, which is live components of office hours, and those will be pre-scheduled, predetermined, and recorded similar to today's webinar and posted back in your course. So the fall courses begin this October, October 24th, and again, we'll roll throughout the rest of the year offering 2 courses in each quarter. Separate from the 100% online program, we offer a project management boot camp, and this is an accelerated 3-day format for experienced project managers. Very little theory, but it is the foundation, and then really more on practical application, very hands-on. Cyndi can speak more to what you're going to be covering in the case studies, but it's the one-on-one learning environment, hands-on experience, being a team in the course, and then actually being coached by Cyndi as you focus and work on a project over those 3 days. Coming this November, we have a Corvallis Bootcamp offering and also a Portland Bootcamp offering. So Cyndi will teach both of those in November. And Cyndi, you want to talk a little bit about how that simulation happens for the boot camps?
Yeah, so these are really fun, and they're in person, and they're a 3-day accelerated format, and so it's pretty intense. And in the online, I'm going to give you a lot of, just really good, deep information on project management. The boot camp assumes you have some experience and or education in project management, so I'll give more of a briefing, if you will. So it'll look like, hey, I'm going to brief you on the concept of a charter, just high level to remind you. Here's a case study, go develop a charter. Okay, good. Now I'm going to briefly remind you about what a work breakdown structure is using the same case study. Now go develop a work breakdown structure and present it to your peers. So that'll be the first 2 days, and we're going to work through, I think it's like 15 to 20, if you will, project artifacts that you'll be working with a team to develop and present. And then on the 3rd day, which is a Saturday, you'll get a whole new case study, and you'll get a list of artifacts that you are to deliver by the end of the day, and you will present, and there will probably be 3 to 5 teams that will present their outputs, if you will, their deliverables to the class in the last hour or so of class. So it's really hands-on. It's very, very engaging. It's pretty fast-paced, and it's really a fun and exciting class to take.
Great. All right, next slide. So let me talk a little bit about a certificate. So being that we're the non-credit side of the house, we basically value that professional credential, and what we found in the recent studies from the Department of Education is that many people are coming back to continue their learning, building upon the degrees that they have. So many of our students are career changers, are looking for that added tool in their toolkit, and so 43% of our certificate holders are graduates and that want to add on to their associate's degree, and 27% of our certificate holders have a bachelor's degree and are using that to advance in their job or advance in their skill sets. Our courses, we're offering, again, campus classes. We're offering on-site classes in Portland and at our Food Innovation Center, and then we're offering 100% online courses. In the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about our corporate training offerings, but we hold on the courses on-site at companies and can be custom built. Our courses are 100% open enrollment, so you pay as you go. You don't have to commit to the entire program, but there are incentives to do so. But you can enroll in each and every course quarter after quarter. You can complete many of these programs in little to 9 months. This one's going to take a full 12 months to do, just as it's up throughout the entire year due to the 8 courses. But many of our courses are week-long. Our program, certificate programs, usually are range between 6 to 12 months. The costs and the impacts are significantly less than a degree program, and there's also funding and finance options available. We are a WIOA provider, so if you've been displaced out of your job, you can go down to your local one-stop center and seek tuition reimbursement funds to support this training. We also align with the TAA Trade Adjustment Act, and this is if your job has been shifted overseas. You can also apply for funding. We have regular other finances available for veterans benefits and also AmeriCorps funding. So check back with us and we can talk to you about your options for funding the certificate program. Our courses, again, focus on the practical applications of what you're learning in the class and applying it in your job-specific skills next day. And you're taught and mentored by instructors like Cyndi with real-world experience, real-world projects to bring to class to liven the discussion, and I like to call the war stories, to really be able to learn from their experience. And the value in the network, so the instructors bring this tremendous network. Cyndi's networking with the greatest in project management currently in San Diego, and leads an expert panel of instructors to build this PMBOK, this 6th edition PMBOK, but then also your students bring a network from our community, and you can leverage each other and leverage your network to provide you opportunities in the future. Cyndi, do you want to add anything here to the course, the networking, the convenience that you're offering?
I think you covered it really well. I've taught online a lot, and it's a different way of engaging with material, and so if you haven't taken online classes before, it takes a little bit of time to get used to. But I think in these, you'll get used to the chats, and you'll get used to commenting with other students and networking with them. And a lot of times I'll see students that have taken courses with other students that are like, oh, good, it's good to see you again. Hey, let's be on the same team this time. And so it's a really wonderful way to engage, and you don't have to be at the same place. You don't have to spend 3 hours in a classroom every week if you happen to be on travel, or if it isn't convenient, if you have young children and you want to check in after they go to bed, or whatever the case may be. The online environment is really great. And the certificate, I find, so a lot of people come to me and say, hey, do I have to have a project management professional to get a job? Or, how can I start to get into this? I will tell you, as a manager, if I was hiring somebody who did not have experience but had taken the time to get a certificate and could talk to me intelligently about things in project management, I think that's a really good way to get into it. Or sometimes people are just so, hey, you're really organized, and we have this project, you're going to be the project manager, and they're like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what to do first. this is really helpful, and it's almost a, on-demand learning, learn as you need to type thing. So that's really all I have to say about that.
Melanie and
Great.
Cynthia, I wanted to interject for just a minute. We have a couple questions from some of our listeners, and so I was wondering if, Cyndi, if maybe you could speak to a couple of these questions. One of the questions is, can we assume that project procurement includes grant writing and acquisition?
Oh, nice question. I won't be covering grant writing. I will be talking about acquisitions of, physical artifacts or acquisitions of labor or services, but not specifically grant writing.
Thank you. We have one other question. I answered a little bit of this online, but our question is, must you take each class in sequence? And I mentioned that our last class has a prerequisite of taking the other courses, but maybe you can speak to that a bit, Cyndi, of picking up a few classes versus taking the whole certificate.
Yeah, so that is an awesome question. I would far prefer that people take them in order. However, I think it's important to take the first class because it gives you a foundation of the language that I'm going to be using. So I'll give you an example. When we're working on the project, I might be saying, hey, you're going to be doing some progressive elaboration with your schedule, and we'll be using some rolling wave planning techniques as you develop your cost. And it's not totally fair to the other students in the class for me to have to go back and reteach that information that everybody else has. So here's what I would say. The first two classes it's pretty important that you can take them to provide a foundation. And I'd really like to see people take at least the first three classes. If you just take those first three classes and nothing else, you'll be in great shape. Leadership is good. The other three, the last three, are great maybe if you want to make sure you have the certificate or go into the profession. But if you take the first four, you're in pretty good shape. If you just if you have experience in project management, if you've been managing projects and you're familiar with the terminology and you want to just pop in and learn more about risk or learn more about quality, that's fine. But if you have no background in project management and you pop into risk, you're really going to struggle. And that's not fair to a student to work really hard but not be able to pass the class because they just don't have the foundational knowledge to do that. So I would say, not hard and fast rules, but recommended that you do the courses in sequence.
Perfect. Thank you, Cyndi. Those are our only two questions right now, but I'll keep monitoring those if anybody else wants to send a question in.
Thank you.
Yes, great. Yes, please continue to share your questions, and we're going to go ahead and just move on a little bit here. The offerings start on October 24th, the boot camp we learned about, and corporate training. So this, we offer an opportunity to bring, if you have a group of employees at your company that would like to bring Cyndi in company or bring some other instructors that we offer the program with in company, we can bring this course or the whole program or a customized select few of the courses on-site to your company locally, nationally, and internationally. It's a convenient way to train your staff, and we have the same instructors approved. We have a dedicated corporate team that can just talk with you about this for no obligation or no charge to even consult to see if this is an opportunity for you and your company. So as part of our webinar today, we wanted to offer you a discount. So we'll be following up. We did record this entire webinar. I know we had some technical difficulties early on. So the recording is there. You can listen about our bios and a little bit about the background of how project management got started, the state of the state. But we want to be able to offer you a discount on courses for listening to our webinar and being here with us today. So it goes over a little bit more of the course online certificate and then also our boot camp. You can check our website for more details. And here's our contact information. We want to connect with you. We want to continue to help you along as you're trying to figure out which courses to take, when to begin, or if this is a right fit for you. You can also reach out to us through any of our social channels. but Emily or myself are here to answer more questions about the program, and so is our support staff and enrollment services. And of course, Cyndi is here to answer more questions, so I don't see any more coming through at this moment. Emily, did you see any other pop up?
There is one just came up. So is there post-certificate support for taking the PMBOK test?
Oh, what a good question. So I think we're going to be putting this certificate program out, but Melanie and I are already in discussions about putting together a PMP prep class. So I would definitely say that we'll have that probably after the certificate. So what's going to happen is when the 6th edition comes out next July or August, they will likely update the exam the following January. So Melanie, tongue-tied. Melanie and I will have to have a discussion to say, hey, do we want to do a really quick one to get people ready to take it before the 5th edition test changes, or do we want to just wait so people can take the new test in January? So I think Melanie and I will have to discuss that, and we'll probably do a survey of students in the class then to see which option people prefer, because we are here for you. We can do what you want. So the answer is yes, and we'll see how it works best.
Yeah, correct. So just like Cyndi said, we're on this cusp year. So if we train most of you all in the 6th edition, because she is the project manager for the 6th edition, so she has that kind of sneak peek on the curriculum and is building our whole entire program to align with that 6th edition. However, it hasn't changed dramatically, so you could test for that 5th edition. But on this cusp year, we're going to kind of pull and see where people are wanting to test to. Would you like to wait and test the 6th edition, or try to go to that 5th edition? Yeah, we probably that might be a good webinar. Our next topic is what's changed within the 5th to the 6th, Cyndi.
Oh my gosh,
I'm
already.
All right, we have a couple more questions. So the first question is, how do we access the discount for the classes? So we will send that out in a follow-up email after this webinar, as well with a recording to the webinar. So you'll get the link discount and the link to the webinar recording in that email. And then we have a question, what is the best way to get started in a project management role before you enroll in the certificate program?
So my thought would be this, take on a project. Really just take on a project and roll your sleeves up. If you belong to any volunteer organizations, or if you're a member of a faith group where you do things, or if you're a member of a sports club and you want to do an event. So a lot of ways to break into project management is to plan an event like a project. So you might want to start saying, okay, if I had to do this project, if I had to plan how to, and I mean seriously, you can make it up, it's anything you want. If I had to plan how to put on a corporate event for 500 people at a resort, how would I go about doing that? And just start thinking about projects, or take some of your work and start managing it as if it was a project, and identify what are the hard parts, what are the easy parts, how do I go about organizing it, how do I go about carrying it out. But that's what I would say is, or at work you can ask your boss, you can say, hey, do you have a small project that you need help with that I can start to work on and start to cut my teeth on? So those would be my biggest suggestions. I started doing all volunteer work. I was doing volunteer work for projects from the time I was 14, and it just kind of grew on me like this set of armor that I can no longer remove.
I would also say there are local chapters of project management at pretty much in every, well, I know we have one in the Willamette Valley. There's one up in Portland. But especially in Southern California, where I came from originally, there was one pretty much in every county. So, and Cyndi has been the chapter president and outstanding chapter president of the year for one of the Orange County chapters when we worked together back in Orange County. But networking at the local chapters is great. So the one here at the Willamette Valley's PMI network, they have events, and they have different engaging speakers, and just being able to, network with those that are project managers, hear what other projects are going on in the community, and learn from your community members in that network. And I believe, Emily, the conference for their PMI Willamette Valley chapter is coming up.
It is. It's November 4th.
November 4th. So in our follow-up email, we can give you some more information about the local Willamette Valley chapter, and you can speak with their membership committee. They're fantastic folks. It's all diverse backgrounds across the valley here, all the way from Eugene to Newport. I think even Bend's associated, all the way up until pretty much Salem. They encompass Salem. So yeah, and then there's also one up in Portland, so that's where your network is too. So would you agree, Cyndi, the chapter is a great place to start?
Oh, that was so perfect. It absolutely is. And, project managers are a gregarious and friendly bunch. So if you go there and you're new and you just say, hey, I want to network, I want to find out more about it, people will talk to you. They'll talk your ear off. So that's a really, really good suggestion.
Great. Well, I think that was the last of our questions. We're so thankful to have you, Cyndi. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with our attendees today, and we're just so excited to learn from you and to launch the certificate program here at Oregon State.
Oh, me too. I can't wait. I can't wait. So I hope I see a bunch of you that are still on the call here. I hope to see you in October. It'll be a lot of fun, and Melanie and John and Emily and everybody who has put this on, thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you so much. And we'll be sending follow-up emails shortly along with this recording. Thanks for your patience as we got started today. And we'll look forward to answering more questions. So go ahead and respond back to the email we send you shortly with more questions, and we're here for you. Take care.
Bye, everyone.